Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise to bring you the most critical insights shaping our world. Today, we're stepping into an arena that touches every aspect of our modern lives, yet remains largely invisible: the escalating battle for cybersecurity. Just think about how deeply connected we are, from smart homes adjusting the temperature to self-driving cars to, the critical infrastructure powering our cities. Every digital interaction, every piece of data, every network connection is, well, a potential front line in a relentless, silent war. The sheer scale of this threat, the accelerating sophistication of the adversaries, it's truly astonishing. Our mission today is to decode this complex, ever-evolving world. We're not just going to tell you what cyber attacks are happening, we're going to dive into the why and the how. Not just the attacks themselves, but also the sophisticated defenses being built to counter them. It's a high-stakes game of digital chess, really, and we're here to give you the playbook.
And we're fortunate to have an exceptional guide for our deep dive today. The fourth edition of Cybersecurity: Attack, Defense, and Future Strategies 2025. This is a definitive work by two globally recognized experts, Yuri Diogenes and Dr. Erdal Ozkaya. Diogenes, he's a principal program manager at Microsoft and a professor, and Ozkaya is a chief cybersecurity strategist. They bring, decades of practical frontline experience. This isn't just some academic text. It's very much a practitioner-focused guide packed with actionable insights. So we're going to try and extract the most vital knowledge and recommendations from their work, hopefully giving you a sharp edge in understanding and navigating the cybersecurity landscape as it stands in 2025.
Okay, let's unpack this, and maybe we should start by painting a picture of just how profoundly our digital world has transformed. Because in doing so, it simultaneously expanded the potential targets for cybercriminals in ways that are almost mind-boggling.
Yeah, that widespread digital transformation we've all witnessed isn't just about convenience, right? It's fundamentally reshaped the cybersecurity threat landscape. We're talking about massive cloud adoption, organizations moving critical data and applications off-premise, often across multiple cloud providers. It's huge. Then there's the sheer explosion of IoT devices, everything from smart city sensors and industrial machinery to, your home smart speaker and fitness tracker. The book highlights that by 2025, we're looking at an estimated 75 billion connected IoT devices. Billion with a B.
75 billion, that's incredible, isn't it? And layer on top of that the global rollout of 5G networks, which give us faster, always-on connectivity. Plus, the prevalence of remote work, which kind of scatters an organization's perimeter across every employee's home office. Each of these shifts, while great for business and daily life, exponentially enlarges what the experts call the attack surface.
Right, the attack surface.
Basically, the sum of all potential points where an unauthorized user, an attacker, can try to enter or extract data from a system. It's like going from defending a single-walled fortress to trying to secure a sprawling, interconnected city with billions of entry points.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And who are these adversaries exploiting this vast new landscape? The book details the primary threat actors. You've got sophisticated cyber criminals, often operating like well-funded corporations, which is kind of scary. Then nation-state actors driven by espionage, sabotage, or geopolitical influence. And of course, hacktivists motivated by social or political causes.
And what makes them so dangerous now in 2025?
Well, it's their unprecedented sophistication. These groups aren't just relying on brute force anymore. They're leveraging advanced artificial intelligence, AI, and automation to enhance their malicious activities. This leads to more cunning and persistent campaigns, often referred to as advanced persistent threats, or APTs. These can burrow deep into systems and remain undetected for, extended periods. Months, even years sometimes.
Lying low.
Exactly. And the economic and societal stakes couldn't be higher. The authors cite projections from Cybersecurity Ventures, estimating the global cost of cybercrime will reach a staggering $10.5 trillion annually by 2025.
$10.5 trillion, that's hard to even comprehend.
It really is. Just think about that figure for a moment. That's not just financial loss. It covers damage to data, theft of intellectual property, fraud, post-attack disruption to operations, reputational harm, everything. It paints a really vivid picture of the immense challenges we collectively face.
That's a really stark picture of the overall landscape. But you mentioned this idea of a cybersecurity arms race earlier. How does that really manifest in the types of attacks we're seeing now? Are we talking about entirely new threats or, just evolutions of old ones?
That's a great question, and the book really delves into that. It's both, actually. What becomes incredibly clear is that this is truly a cybersecurity arms race where attackers are constantly innovating and defenders, They have to adapt just as quickly. The source material then transitions directly from this broad threat landscape into the specific evolving types of attacks that are, plaguing the 2025 landscape. Let's dive into some of the key attack vectors that Diogenes and Ozkaya detail. Ransomware, for instance, has evolved significantly. It's moved far beyond simply encrypting data and demanding a ransom. We're now seeing double extortion tactics become, standard practice.
Double extortion. What does that involve exactly? So it means attackers not only encrypt your data, making it inaccessible, but they also steal sensitive information beforehand. Then they threaten to leak it publicly if the ransom isn't paid. This puts immense pressure on victims, right? Because paying doesn't guarantee the data isn't leaked anyway, and not paying can lead to catastrophic reputational damage, regulatory fines. It's a nightmare scenario. The book gives some compelling real-world examples that highlight this disruptive impact, like the 2023 Colonial Pipeline attack, which disrupted fuel supplies across the U.S. Southeast.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Big deal.
Huge. And the 2024 Change Healthcare attacks, which severely impacted healthcare services nationwide. Just crippling.
Okay, so ransomware has gotten nastier. What else?
Then there are supply chain attacks, which are particularly insidious. These exploit vulnerabilities not directly in the target organization, but in their third-party software, hardware, or services. By compromising a trusted vendor, attackers gain a backdoor into potentially thousands of client organizations. Very efficient from their perspective.
Wow, hitting one to get to many.
Precisely. We also see the alarming rise of deepfake-enabled social engineering. Thanks to AI, attackers can now generate highly convincing audio and video fakes of executives or trusted individuals. Imagine getting a deepfake video call from your CEO instructing you to transfer funds urgently, or an audio message from a family member asking for immediate financial help, sounding exactly like them. These make it incredibly difficult for individuals to discern legitimate communications from malicious ones, bypassing a lot of traditional security awareness training.
That's terrifying. How do you even defend against that?
It's tough. It requires new approaches, more verification, and of course, there are zero-day exploits. These are vulnerabilities in software or hardware that are unknown to the vendor or the public. Attackers discover and exploit them before a patch is available, making them incredibly potent and hard to defend against initially. The authors also elaborate on nation-state attacks, which are often the most sophisticated. These are typically aimed at critical infrastructure, like power grids or financial systems, or for intelligence gathering. Groups like ATT&CK, often attributed to Russia, and Lazarus, linked to North Korea, are specifically mentioned. They deploy sophisticated malware for geopolitical objectives, like disrupting elections or stealing national secrets.
So, big players with big resources.
Absolutely. And finally, the book highlights emerging threats like cryptojacking. That's where attackers use compromised devices for unauthorized cryptocurrency mining, silently draining resources and increasing energy costs. And then there are IoT-based botnets. These leverage that huge number of poorly secured IoT devices we talked about. They create massive networks of compromised machines.
The zombie devices.
Exactly, the zombie army. Capable of launching devastating distributed denial of service, or DDoS, attacks, overwhelming targets with traffic, or participating in large-scale crypto mining operations. What becomes incredibly clear from the book is this continuous competition, attackers constantly innovating, defenders having to adapt just as quickly. It really highlights how traditional perimeter-based defenses like simple firewalls or old-school signature-based antivirus solutions are just increasingly ineffective against these adaptive AI-driven attacks. Attackers aren't just looking for open ports anymore. They're using AI to craft polymorphic malware that constantly changes its signature, or blending malicious traffic with legitimate network activity to evade detection. It's much stealthier.
So the old castle walls aren't enough.
Not even close. This brings us to a crucial point the authors make: the urgent call for organizations to adopt a proactive, intelligence-driven approach. It's no longer enough to just react to threats after they happen. Organizations must align their investments across three critical pillars: protection, detection, and response. The book stresses the absolute necessity for agility in defense strategies, fostering strong collaboration both within organizations and across the industry, and committing to continuous improvement in security posture. This forward-looking, proactive mindset is what truly sets the stage for effective cybersecurity in 2025.
Here's where it gets really interesting, I think. To truly build strong defenses, it feels like we need to understand the adversary's mindset, right? What does the book say about how attackers plan and execute their campaigns? How do they even begin?
Exactly. To effectively defend, you absolutely have to understand the offense. So let's invite you, our listener, to step into the shoes of an attacker for a moment. See how they plan and execute their malicious activities. The book breaks this down using core frameworks that guide modern cyber offensives: the Lockheed Martin cyber kill chain and the MITRE ATT&CK frameworks. These aren't just academic concepts, they are foundational tools. They allow defenders to anticipate and counter threats by understanding the adversary's playbook, step by step. By recognizing the stages an attacker goes through, we can build defenses at each step, making it much harder for them to achieve their objectives.
Makes sense. Break down the attack to break the attack. Precisely. Let's take a closer look at the cyber kill chain phases, using some of the illustrative examples provided in the source material. First up, we have reconnaissance. This is where attackers gather intelligence on their targets. Think of it as the surveillance phase before a heist. Methods here include open-source intelligence or OSINT attackers scouring publicly available information like social media, company websites, news articles, anything they can find. They also use social engineering, manipulating individuals to reveal information, and network scanning to identify active hosts and open ports. The book gives an example: how attackers profile employees for highly effective spear phishing campaigns using public data. There was a case study from 2024 detailing a spear phishing attack on a financial institution. Attackers used specific LinkedIn data, maybe an employee's job title, recent projects, connections to craft personalized emails so convincing they bypass even sophisticated email filters.
Wow, using professional networking sites against people.
Yeah, turning your own public profile into a weapon. Next, we move to weaponization. This is the phase where attackers create or customize their malicious payloads. This isn't just downloading some off-the-shelf malware anymore. It involves advanced techniques. The book discusses the alarming use of AI-generated malware, specifically mentioning generative adversarial networks, or GANs, that can morph code in real time to evade detection by traditional antivirus or intrusion detection systems.
So the malware changes itself to hide.
Exactly. This adaptability makes it incredibly difficult for defenders to create static signatures for malicious code. As an illustration, the book references the Emotet banking Trojan. It evolved dramatically over time, adapting to deliver devastating ransomware strains like Ryuk. Shows how weaponization isn't static.
Okay, so they've got their weapon. How do they deliver it?
That's the next phase, delivery. This is about transmitting the malicious payload to the target. Common methods include classic phishing emails, payload hidden in an attachment, or a malicious link. Pretty standard stuff. But it's also malicious websites designed to automatically download malware when visited, or even physical USB drops leaving infected drives lying around. Critically, the book highlights supply chain attacks in this phase. The impactful 2020 SolarWinds attack is a prime example. Legitimate software updates from a trusted vendor were compromised and delivered malware to thousands of organizations worldwide. That was huge. A trusted source turned bad.
Devastating. And it also discusses watering hole attacks, where attackers infect websites known to be frequented by their specific targets. This was observed in campaigns targeting healthcare providers during the COVID-19 pandemic, for instance. They go where the targets gather online.
Clever, in a sinister way. Okay, delivery successful, then what? Once delivered, the payload needs to achieve exploitation. This is where attackers leverage vulnerabilities to gain initial access. These vulnerabilities can be in unpatched systems, for example. A specific flaw identified as a common vulnerability and exposure, a CVE, like CVE 2024-12345, is just a generic identifier format they use. Or it could be misconfigured cloud storage, like an Amazon S3 bucket left publicly accessible. Simple mistakes, big consequences. The book provides a powerful case study of a 2024 retail chain breach where attackers exploited a known Apache Struts vulnerability. This specific flaw allowed them initial access, underscoring the critical importance of timely patching. You have to patch.
So finding that one crack in the armor.
Exactly. After successful exploitation, attackers proceed to installation. This core activity is about establishing persistent mechanisms for continued access. They don't want to lose their foothold if the vulnerability gets patched or the system reboots. This can involve installing rootkits, which are stealthy programs that hide their presence, or backdoors. A particularly insidious technique mentioned is living off the land.
Living off the land, using the system's own tools, right?
Precisely. Attackers use legitimate system tools already present on the victim's network, like PowerShell, the command line tool. This makes it much harder to detect as the activity blends in with normal system operations. A case study from 2023 details a government agency breach attributed to APT-29. It illustrates how these attackers use Erdal techniques to maintain access for months without detection. Very sneaky.
Months. Wow. Okay, so they're persistent. What's next?
Then comes command and control, C2. or CNC sometimes. This is where attackers establish communication channels to control the compromised systems from afar. They need a way to issue commands, download more tools, or exfiltrate data without being detected. Often they use encrypted protocols that resemble normal network traffic, like HTTPS, or they might use domain generation algorithms, DGAs, which create a huge number of seemingly random domain names that the malware cycles through to find a live C2 server, making it hard to block. The book references the TrickBot malware, which famously used HTTPS-based C2, making its malicious data exfiltration blend in with legitimate web traffic. The authors also discuss how attackers increasingly leverage legitimate cloud services, like Dropbox or Google Drive for C2, hiding in plain sight.
Using trusted services for malicious commands. That's clever.
It is. Finally, we reach actions on objectives. This is the end game, the phase where the attacker achieves their ultimate goals. This could be data theft, system disruption, or of course, ransom demands after deploying ransomware. To get to the most valuable assets, attackers often perform lateral movement, meaning they move deeper into the network from their initial point of compromise, hopping from machine to machine. They use techniques like pass the hash or Kerberosing to steal credentials or authentication tickets from one compromised system to authenticate to others, escalating privileges as they go. A powerful case study from 2024 illustrates a healthcare breach. Attackers first stole patient data, the objective, and then, to maximize impact, deployed ransomware, disrupting operations for weeks. Double whammy again.
So steal the data and lock the systems. Maximize the pain.
Exactly. The book's red team focus also touches on practical knowledge about penetration testing tools, things like Metasploit, Cobalt Strike, Burp Suite. These are tools ethical hackers use to simulate attacks, find weaknesses before the bad guys do. It also highlights the importance of ethical hacking methodologies, like OWASP's Web Security Testing Guide, which provide a standardized approach for testing security.
This really drives home the point, doesn't it? Knowing the adversary's playbook, understanding each step they take, the tools they use, it's absolutely the first and most critical step to effective defense. You just can't defend against what you don't understand. By internalizing these frameworks and tactics, defenders can shift from just reacting to being proactive, designing defenses and detection mechanisms at every single stage of that attack chain. It allows them to anticipate threats and build a more resilient security posture, which I guess is precisely where the book shifts its focus next, to the blue team side.
So what does all this mean for those of us on the defense side? How do we actually build that resilient posture you mentioned? The book shifts focus entirely now to the defender's side, right? Emphasizing proactive measures, the blue team perspective.
Yes, exactly. And at the heart of it is the philosophy of layered defense, often called defense in depth. The idea isn't about relying on a single magic bullet, an impenetrable wall, because that doesn't exist. It's about building multiple overlapping security controls. So if one layer fails, others are there to potentially catch the attack. This aligns really well with established frameworks like the NIST cybersecurity framework and the whole concept of zero trust architecture, which we should definitely get into. The book organizes these key defense mechanisms into three crucial pillars: protection, detection, and response.
Okay, protection first. What does that involve? Let's start with protection. Preventing attacks. Foundational stuff first. Security hygiene. We're talking about the basics that are anything but basic in practice. Regular patching of software and operating systems to close known vulnerabilities, continuous vulnerability scanning to identify new weaknesses, and secure configurations, making sure systems are set up securely from day one, not as an afterthought. The real insight here isn't just the what, but the impact of mastering this, especially through automation. The book highlights a manufacturing firm that just by automating its patching, a seemingly unglamorous task, slashed its attack surface by a remarkable 70%.
70% just from automated patching. Wow.
Yeah. It underscores that sometimes the biggest defense wins come from consistently nailing the fundamentals at scale. Next, access controls are paramount. Implementing the principle of least privilege, giving users only the permissions they absolutely need to do their jobs, nothing more. Also, mandatory multi-factor authentication, MFA, requiring that second form of verification beyond just a password, it's critical. And role-based access control, RBAC, assigning permissions based on roles. The book specifically mentions adaptive authentication solutions, like some features in Microsoft Azure AD's conditional access that can enforce policies dynamically based on context, location, device health, etc.
Making access smarter, not just static rules.
Exactly. Then there's the groundbreaking zero trust architecture. The core principle is simple but revolutionary. Never trust, always verify. It assumes no user, device, or application is inherently trusted, even if they're inside the network perimeter. Every access request needs continuous verification. Think Google's BeyondCorp model or tools like Zscaler. The book shares a powerful 2024 case study. A financial institution adopted zero trust and, as a direct result, reduced insider threat incidents by 50%.
50% reduction in insider threats, that's huge against a really tricky problem.
It is. Finally, under protection, we have endpoint security, protecting individual devices, laptops, desktops, servers. Endpoint detection and response EDR tools are crucial here. These like CrowdStrike Falcon or Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. They don't just block known malware, they actively monitor for suspicious activities on the endpoint, giving real-time visibility and helping prevent that lateral movement within the network. The book highlights EDR's critical role in stopping a 2024 ransomware attack on a logistics company. It detected and contained the threat before it could encrypt widespread systems. Save their bacon, basically.
Okay, so that's protection. What about finding threats that get through?
Detection. All right, moving on to the second pillar. Detection. Identifying threats in real time. Security, information, and event management, SIEM platforms are the backbone here. Think solutions like Azure Sentinel or Splunk. They aggregate security logs and event data from across the entire organization's network, firewalls, servers, apps, endpoints, cloud services, you name it. Then they correlate these events, often using AI and machine learning, to identify patterns that indicate a threat. A case study from a retail chain shows how AI-driven analytics in their SIEM reduced false positives by 60%. That lets security analysts focus on real threats instead of chasing ghosts.
Cutting down the noise. Very important.
Absolutely critical. Threat intelligence is also vital. Platforms like Recorded Future or Threat Connect provide actionable intelligence on emerging threats, attacker tactics, techniques, and procedures, TTPs, and indicators of compromise, IOCs. This intelligence can be fed into SIEMs and other security tools to proactively identify known malicious activity. The book illustrates how integrated threat intelligence feeds helped a government agency detect a nation-state attack in 2024, letting them respond before significant damage occurred.
So knowing what the bad guys are up to right now.
Exactly. Then there's network monitoring. This provides deep visibility into network traffic itself. Tools like Zeek, formerly Bro, or Wireshark for analysis. They analyze network packets for suspicious activity, abnormal communication patterns, or known malicious signatures. Essential for spotting things moving across the network. The book describes how a telecom provider used network monitoring to detect and mitigate a distributed denial of service (DDoS) attack within minutes, preventing a massive service outage.
Seeing the traffic flow is key.
It is. And crucially, AI and machine learning for anomaly detection are becoming indispensable. AI-driven tools, like those from Darktrace, for example, use unsupervised learning to build a baseline of what's normal network and user behavior for that specific environment. They then identify deviations from this baseline anomalies that might indicate an attack, even when using unknown methods. A compelling case study explains how AI identified an insider threat in a healthcare organization by analyzing subtle changes in the user's behavior patterns that human analysts would likely miss.
Finding the needle in the haystack, basically.
Pretty much. Okay, so we've detected what happens when an attack does get through, the response phase. Finally, we arrive at our third pillar, response, minimizing damage and restoring operations. A structured incident response, IR process, is non-negotiable here. You can't just wing it when the alarm bells ring. The book aligns this with the well-known 6 phases from the NIST SP 861 framework. Preparation, identification, containment, eradication, recovery, and lessons learned.
Preparation seems key. What does that involve?
Preparation is the first, often overlooked, but absolutely vital phase. This involves developing detailed IR playbooks, step-by-step guides for different types of incidents, ransomware to data breach, etc. It also means conducting regular tabletop exercises to simulate attacks and test those response plans, see where the gaps are. And, critically, maintaining robust, isolated backups of all critical data, backups you know you can restore from. The book references the infamous 2017 WannaCry outbreak to illustrate a fictitious company's IR process, but significantly, it updates this process to include considerations for 2025 cloud environments, recognizing how infrastructure has shifted.
So practice makes perfect, even in disaster recovery.
You bet. Next is identification. Quick list determining the scope and nature of the attack. What's happening? How bad is it? Tools like Microsoft Defender for Cloud or mapping activity to frameworks like MITRE, ATT&CK help security teams understand the attacker's tactics, techniques, and procedures. TPPs. A 2024 case study describes a utility company using ATT&CK to classify a ransomware attack. This allowed them to quickly understand the adversary's methods and predict their likely next moves.
Knowing your enemy in the moment.
Precisely. Then containment. This has both short-term and long-term goals. Short-term, Isolate affected systems to prevent the attack from spreading further. Stop the bleeding, long term. Implement measures to prevent recurrence. Figure out how they got in and close that door. A prime example from the book is the role of network segmentation in containing a 2024 supply chain attack. Isolating compromised segments prevented the breach from taking down the entire organization.
Limiting the blast radius?
Good way to put it. Eradication and recovery come next. Removing the malware, kicking the attackers out completely, and restoring systems to a secure pre-incident state. This requires thorough forensic analysis, understanding exactly what happened, followed by restoration from those secure backups. A 2024 healthcare breach case study illustrates how automated recovery processes significantly reduce downtime, getting critical patient care systems back online much faster than manual methods would allow.
Getting back to business safely and quickly.
That's the goal. The final crucial phase is lessons learned, post-incident reviews. What went wrong? What went right? How can we improve future responses? This step is so often skipped in the rush to get back to normal, but it's vital for improvement. The book cites a 2024 financial breach where lessons learned from the incident led to a 40% reduction in the mean time to recovery, MTTR, for subsequent incidents. That shows the power of continuous improvement.
Learning from mistakes to get better makes sense.
Absolutely. The book also provides practical guidance on blue team tools, mentioning things like extended detection and response XDR platforms like Palo Alto Cortex XDR and IR automation solutions like ServiceNow. And it introduces purple teaming exercises. This is a brilliant concept, actually.
Purple teaming, red and blue mixed.
Exactly. It combines red team activities, simulated attacks, with blue team activities, defense and response, in a collaborative way, often happening concurrently. This helps enhance communication, collaboration, and mutual understanding between the offense and defense teams. They learn from each other directly, which ultimately improves the overall security posture much faster than working in silos.
Very cool. Breaking down those traditional walls.
Yeah, it's a really effective approach. So we've outlined how defenders build a strong stance generally, but what about the specific challenges and strategies for securing, say, cloud and Internet of Things environments? Given their pervasive adoption by 2025, these new frontiers bring incredible benefits, but also unique security complexities, right?
Absolutely. And the book definitely dives into those specific areas. First, let's talk about cloud security imperatives. The fundamental concept here, and it's so important, is the shared responsibility model.
Right. That comes up all the time.
It does, because it's crucial. Cloud providers, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, they're responsible for the security of the cloud. The underlying infrastructure, physical data centers, the network fabric, the hypervisors. But the customer is responsible for security in the cloud. That means your applications, your data, your configurations, identity and access management, IAM, network controls within that cloud environment. Misunderstanding this model, assuming the provider handles everything, is a super common source of breaches.
So you still have a lot of work to do, even in the cloud.
Yeah, a lot of work. To help customers secure their part, there's Cloud Security Posture Management, CSPM, tools like Microsoft Defender for Cloud or Prisma Cloud. These continually monitor your cloud configurations across various services, compute, storage, databases to identify and help remediate missteps. Things like a publicly exposed S3 bucket, which is a classic, easily preventable flaw. The book highlights a 2024 case study where a tech firm used CSPM to remediate a remarkable 90% of its cloud misconfigurations, drastically reducing their attack surface.
Finding those open doors in your cloud setup.
Exactly. We also see the rise of cloud-native CIAM, solutions like Azure Sentinel, built specifically for the cloud. They can leverage the cloud scale and AI capabilities to analyze petabytes of security data from diverse cloud sources, IaaS, PaaS, SaaS. A retail chain, for example, used a cloud-native CIAM to detect a 2024 phishing campaign that was specifically crafted to target its software-as-a-service, SaaS, applications, showing its ability to pinpoint cloud-specific threats.
CIAM, but supercharged for cloud scale.
Kind of, yeah. Identity and access management, IAM, in the cloud is another critical area. It's arguably even more important in the cloud, where the traditional network perimeter is less defined. AI-driven IAM solutions, maybe from Okta or SailPoint, enhance cloud security by using behavioral analytics and adaptive authentication. This means access isn't just granted based on static credentials. It's continuously evaluated based on user behavior, location, device posture, and context. A 2024 case study illustrates how advanced IAM prevented a cloud account takeover by detecting unusual login patterns and automatically triggering additional verification steps, like MFA.
Stopping bad guys, even if they have the password.
That's the idea. With the boom in microservices and agile development using containers, container and Kubernetes security have become vital. You can't ignore them. Tools in this space, like Aqua Security or Sysdig, focus on securing containerized workloads throughout their lifecycle, shift-left security and development, image scanning, and crucially, runtime protection. The book details a 2024 DevOps breach where misconfigured Kubernetes clusters were exploited. It underscores the critical need for not just build time checks, but also runtime protection for these dynamic environments.
Securing the containers themselves, not just the servers.
Right. Finally, the book addresses cloud-specific incident response challenges. It's different than responding on-premise. Challenges include complexities like aggregating logs consistently across diverse multi-cloud or hybrid environments, and ensuring compliance with regulations like GDPR or CCPA when data resides in potentially multiple cloud regions or services. The book mentions the provision of step-by-step IR playbooks specifically tailored for cloud incidents, using examples perhaps from Azure Security Center guidance.
Okay, that covers the cloud. What about the Internet of Things? Those 75 billion devices.
Yeah.
That sounds like a security nightmare.
It definitely presents unique challenges. Let's turn our attention to IoT security, a vulnerable ecosystem. We mentioned that estimate. 75 billion connected devices by 2025. It creates this enormous and often very vulnerable attack surface. Many IoT devices are designed primarily for convenience or low cost, not security. This leads to inherent weaknesses like weak default passwords, lack of encryption, and often unpatched firmware that never gets updated. These weaknesses enabled large-scale botnets like MITRE, which leveraged millions of insecure IoT devices' cameras, routers to launch massive DDoS attacks a few years back. So yeah, your smart thermostat isn't just adjusting the temperature. Potentially, it could be a silent participant in a cyber attack if not secured.
That's a bit unsettling when you're just trying to save on your energy bills.
Yeah.
So how do we defend this massive ecosystem?
Well, the book outlines key IoT security strategies to try and combat this. First, device authentication is foundational. Using strong identity mechanisms like digital certificates and public key infrastructure, PKI, for robust device identity. This ensures that only legitimate, authenticated devices can connect to the network and communicate. AWS IoT Core, for instance, implements features like this.
Making sure the device is who it says it is.
Exactly. Second, network segmentation is crucial. Isolate IoT devices onto separate network segments, often called VLANs. This limits the potential blast radius if one device is compromised. It can't easily jump to infect your corporate network or other critical systems. A 2024 smart city example from the book demonstrates this strategy, showing how a segmented network prevented a breach of smart streetlights from affecting, say, traffic control systems.
Keep the vulnerable stuff separate.
Precisely. And finally, AI-driven monitoring is proving highly effective for IoT. Tools, perhaps like those from Nozomi networks in the industrial space, use AI to learn the normal behavior of IoT devices and networks. They then detect anomalies, unusual traffic patterns, unexpected communications that might indicate a compromise. A compelling case study reveals how a manufacturing plant prevented a 2024 IoT-based attack, likely aiming to disrupt operations, through proactive AI monitoring that flagged unusual sensor readings and network chatter from their industrial controllers.
So watching the machines talk to each other.
In a nutshell, yes. It's about understanding that unique IoT traffic and spotting when something's off. And if we connect this all to the bigger picture, it becomes really clear that cybersecurity in 2025 isn't just about, code and firewalls and tech. It's deeply intertwined with crucial legal and ethical and regulatory dimensions, especially concerning the pervasive adoption of AI and cloud technologies we've been discussing. The book dedicates significant attention to these often overlooked but absolutely critical aspects.
Right, the human and legal side of things. What are the key concerns there?
Well, one of the most pressing is privacy. As AI-driven monitoring becomes more sophisticated, its ability to collect and analyze vast amounts of data potentially, including personal data, falls under strict regulations. Think GDPR in Europe, the CCPA in California, and other emerging 2025 regulations popping up globally. The authors advocate for adopting privacy-preserving techniques, things like federated learning, where AI models are trained on decentralized data sets without needing to centralize the raw, sensitive information itself. This allows organizations to harness the benefits of AI while minimizing compliance risks and protecting user privacy.
Using AI without becoming Big Brother.
Essentially, yes. Then there's the issue of AI fairness and accuracy. AI models, particularly those used in threat detection, are trained on data. If that data contains historical biases or isn't representative, the AI's outcomes can reflect that. This could lead to, say, disproportionate false positives for certain user groups or types of activity. It's not just an abstract concern, it directly impacts the reliability and trustworthiness of security systems. The book emphasizes mitigation strategies, regular independent audits of AI systems, and crucially, training AI models on diverse representative datasets to ensure robust and unbiased performance.
Making sure the AI isn't unfairly flagging people.
Exactly. Transparency, or explainable AI, XAI, is another vital consideration. As AI makes increasingly complex decisions in security flagging threats, granting or denying access, it's crucial to understand why the AI made a particular decision. We can't just have black boxes making critical security calls. This is especially true in highly regulated industries like finance or healthcare, where accountability is paramount. A 2024 banking case study cited in the book illustrates how adopting XAI improved both regulatory compliance and trust, because decisions made by AI security systems could be clearly explained and justified to auditors and regulators.
You need to be able to show your work even if it's an AI doing it.
Absolutely. Lastly, the book provides critical guidance on regulatory compliance. Cybersecurity practices must align with a growing, complex phase of global and industry-specific regulations and frameworks. We're talking NIST guidelines, ISO 27001 standards, and the European Union's groundbreaking EU AI Act, which is setting stringent requirements for AI systems used in various sectors. The authors highlight the immense importance of conducting regular risk assessments to identify vulnerabilities in the context of these regulations and maintaining detailed audit trails. These trails aren't just for internal review. They're often legally required to demonstrate adherence to compliance mandates, proving you've done your due diligence in protecting data and systems. These legal and regulatory dimensions are no longer afterthoughts. They are absolutely integral to building a truly robust and responsible cybersecurity posture in 2025.
Okay, that makes sense. So looking ahead then, what stands out to you when we turn to the horizon? Considering the next wave of innovations and the challenges they present, the book does an excellent job of looking ahead, doesn't it? Giving us a glimpse into the future of this digital arms race.
It does, and it's fascinating, maybe a little scary too. One of the most significant aspects is generative AI's dual role. We've already seen its impact, but the book predicts it will simultaneously enhance both attacks and defenses. It's a classic double-edged sword.
How so? More sophisticated attacks.
Definitely. On the attack side, expect even more sophisticated deepfakes, not just mimicking voices and faces, but maybe generating entire believable video narratives for highly effective social engineering or disinformation campaigns. Automated phishing campaigns will likely become even more personalized, tailored using AI analysis of targets, making them much harder to spot. However, on the defense side, generative AI will be a powerful ally. It can create vast amounts of synthetic, realistic-looking data to train security models, allowing them to learn and adapt to new threats much faster, without needing real-world attack data, which can be scarce. It will also empower automated threat hunting, with AI systems proactively searching for anomalies and potential malicious activity, rather than just reacting to known signatures or alerts.
AI fighting AI, essentially.
In many ways, yes. Then there's the looming specter of the quantum computing threat. While practical, large-scale quantum computers capable of breaking current crypto are still some way off, the threat is real. Quantum computing has the theoretical potential to break the underlying mathematics of current encryption standards like RSA and ECC, which underpin most of our secure communications, online banking, VPNs, encrypted messages, everything.
So all our secrets could be exposed.
Potentially, yes, if we don't prepare. This makes existing secure communications retroactively vulnerable if the encrypted data is harvested now and decrypted later when quantum computers are powerful enough. The book emphasizes the critical, urgent need for developing and adopting post-quantum cryptography, or PQC new encryption algorithms designed to withstand attacks from both classical and future quantum computers. It's a race against time, really. Systems need to start migrating to these new standards well before quantum computing becomes a practical threat.
A major cryptographic transition is needed.
A huge one. Another emerging area is edge security. This concept involves deploying AI at the edge.
AI at the edge, meaning not in the cloud.
Right. Moving AI capabilities closer to the data sources, directly onto IoT devices, edge servers, or within 5G network infrastructure. This reduces latency significantly because data doesn't have to travel all the way back to a central cloud for analysis. It allows for faster, more localized threat detection and response. This is especially crucial in environments like industrial control systems or autonomous vehicles, where real-time decisions are critical, and where sending massive amounts of sensor data to the cloud isn't feasible or efficient. Think about an AI on a smart traffic light detecting an anomaly and reacting instantly rather than waiting for analysis from a distant server.
Faster reactions, closer to the action.
Exactly. But despite all this amazing technological advancement, a persistent human challenge remains: the cybersecurity skills gap. The book highlights an alarming projection: a potential shortfall of 4 million cybersecurity professionals globally by 2025. 4 million.
Wow, we just don't have enough people.
We don't. There simply aren't enough skilled professionals to fill the roles needed to design, implement, manage, and defend our increasingly complex digital infrastructure. To address this critical gap, the authors emphasize that automation will be absolutely essential, taking over routine tasks, amplifying the capabilities of existing human talent, making them more efficient. But equally important are comprehensive training programs, continuous upskilling for existing professionals, and initiatives to attract new, diverse talent into the field. We need more defenders.
Automation helps, but we need the people too.
We absolutely do. Looking at anticipated challenges summarized in the book, several overarching concerns stand out. There's adversarial AI, which we touched on: one AI system specifically designed to fool or attack another AI security system, creating a new layer of complexity in the arms race. Then there's regulatory fragmentation. Different countries and regions implementing different, sometimes conflicting, cybersecurity and data privacy laws, making it incredibly difficult for global organizations to ensure consistent compliance everywhere. And finally, the potential for over-reliance on automation itself. If not implemented carefully, automation could create new vulnerabilities. For instance, if the automation tools themselves are insecure, or if they mask underlying problems, or if human oversight is reduced too much.
So automation isn't a silver bullet either.
No, it's a powerful tool, but needs careful management. The path forward, according to the authors, involves fostering hybrid human-AI workflows where humans and AI collaborate, leveraging each other's strengths. Humans for context, intuition, complex problem solving, AI for speed, scale, pattern recognition. They also advocate for striving towards global cybersecurity standards to try and harmonize regulations and best practices, reducing that fragmentation burden, and perhaps most importantly, promoting a culture of continuous learning within the industry. It's a field that never, ever stops evolving, and neither can our knowledge or our defenses. You have to keep learning.
Okay, wow. So we've covered a lot today in this deep dive, really mapping out the cybersecurity landscape based on this book. We looked at the ever-evolving dangerous threat landscape of 2025, the meticulous strategies used by attackers, a red team perspective, and then the multi-layered, intelligence-driven defenses being built by the blue team. We also unpacked the critical specialized security needs for cloud and IoT environments, which are just everywhere now. And we touched on the crucial legal, ethical, and regulatory considerations that govern this digital realm before finally peering into the future trends and challenges: AI, quantum skills gaps that will shape cybersecurity for years to come.
Indeed. The book, Cybersecurity, Attack, Defense, and Future Strategies 2025, really powerfully reinforces a central message. Cybersecurity in 2025 is not a static state you achieve. It's a dynamic process. It's constant vigilance. It demands that proactive, intelligence-driven, and continuously adaptable approach we talked about. And while the threats are undoubtedly sophisticated, leveraging advanced AI and even nation-state capabilities, the good news is the tools, the strategies, the frameworks for building robust defenses are also evolving rapidly. It's really about being agile, being collaborative, and being persistent in the face of constant change, staying ahead or at least keeping pace.
That's a great summary. It leaves us with a final thought for you, our listeners, to consider. As our digital lives become more and more integrated into every facet of society, from critical infrastructure right down to our personal smart devices, how much personal responsibility do we each bear in this cybersecurity arms race beyond what organizations and governments can provide? Think about simple actions you can take right now. Using stronger, unique passwords, enabling multi-factor authentication on all your important accounts, being more wary of suspicious emails or messages, keeping your software updated on your phone and computer, basic digital hygiene. Or perhaps how this new understanding of the digital battlefield might influence your professional perspectives, maybe urging you to advocate for better security practices within your own workplace or community. It really is a collective challenge, and understanding it, as we've tried to do today, is surely the first step towards building a more secure digital future for all of us.